If you need to create a classroom management dashboard in a few minutes in Excel that's both dynamic and interactive, this video will show you how. You'll learn how to create these charts, buttons, and a summary area showing the data in real time. For the dashboard, we're going to use this data, and you can download it to follow along by using the link in the description below. Okay, let's get right into it. Let's start by adding a new sheet. Then, how about we rename it to Dashboard? While we're at it, let's drag the sheet over here to the left. Next, let's create a background shape for our dashboard by clicking on Insert, Shape. Let's go with the rounded rectangle. We can click and drag to create the shape. Roughly this size will work. We can leave the color alone for now because we'll format the dashboard later on. Next, click on the shape, do a copy and paste. Go ahead and change the color to white, and make sure to remove the border by selecting Shape Outline and choose None. Resize it to say something like this. Copy the shape 2 more times, then rearrange them to look something like this. It doesn't have to be exact because these white shapes will act like placeholders, so we can let them be for now. Next up, let's create our pivot tables. Let's go over to the Classroom Data Sheet, click somewhere in the body of the list, then from the Insert tab, choose Table, and click OK. I'm going to change the format of this table to make it easier on the eyes by applying a table style of none. Now, there's several reasons why you want to convert your list into a table, but the main reason is whenever you add new data, the table will automatically expand, and that makes refreshing your pivot tables a lot easier. So for our dashboard, we're going to end up making 5 pivot tables in total. It sounds like a lot, but they're really easy and they go pretty quick. Let's make our first pivot table by going up to the Insert tab, then choose Pivot Table. In the dialog box, choose New Worksheet, but most important, check the box that says Add to Data Model. We'll explain why in a bit. Before we build the pivot table, how about we rename the sheet to Pivot Tables so we know where to place everything. Okay, from the right-hand side, let's click the Behaviors field and drag it into the Rows quadrant. Then, drag the Behavior field down again, this time into the Values quadrant. The next step is to create our chart, so we'll cruise up here to the Insert tab, choose Pivot Chart, and how about we go with the column graph? All right, let's make the chart look better by clicking on the Field button list and choose Hide All. We won't need the legend, so we can click on that and press Delete. Then let's change the name of the chart to Behavior Summary, and that's all we need for this one. Let's move on and create our second pivot table by jumping back to the list, click Insert, Pivot Table. Again, make sure to add it to the data model, and this time we can place the pivot table on an existing sheet. Right about here is fine. For the second pivot table, let's drag the Score field into the Values quadrant, then hover on the number, right-click and choose Summarize Values By, and then choose Average. From there, click in the cell next to the pivot table, type an equal sign, then click on the average from the pivot table. You'll see a function appear. Just press Enter. How about we make the number look nice by decreasing the decimal until we get a whole number? And that's all we need for this pivot table. Let's move on to the third one. Let's go back to our list, then click Insert Pivot Table. Again, don't forget to add it to the data model and place it on an existing sheet. This pivot table will show our assignment completion rate. For that, we can drag the completion rate into the Rows quadrant, then drag the same field into the Values quadrant, and it should default to the count. Next, let's create our chart by clicking Insert, Pivot Chart, and this time let's go with the often maligned donut graph. We can remove our field buttons again, but now let's say we want to show the percentages. To show them, right-click on the chart, look for Add Data Labels, then choose Data Labels again. Yeah, go figure. Next, right-click on the amounts showing in the chart, then choose Format Data Labels. Over here on the right, check the percentage box, then uncheck Values. To move the percents off the chart, we have to be patient. You'll need to hover your mouse until it becomes a 4-headed arrow. Then you can click and drag to move things around. Once that's done, how about we rename the chart to Assignment Completion? And if we haven't done it already, go ahead and close out the formatting pane. All right, time for the next pivot table. The next one is going to show the average for each subject. And by now, you should be familiar with the pattern. Let's go back to our list, create a new pivot table. Again, just to reinforce, make sure to add it to the data model, and we can place it right here on this existing sheet. Okay, let's drag the subject into the Rows quadrant and the scores into the Values quadrant. Then hover your mouse in the Values quadrant, click the field and look for Value Field Setting, which is code for I want to change the calculation. In the dialog box, scroll down, look for Average, and select it. Then click on the Number Format button, choose Number over here on the left, and reduce the decimal to 0. Now it's time to build a chart, and no doubt you know how to do that as well. Go ahead and click on Insert, Pivot Chart, and this time let's go with the bar chart. As you may have guessed, let's go ahead and get rid of the field buttons and delete the legend as well. Last, change the chart name to Average per Subject. Okay, one more pivot table to go, but this time we'll explain why we've been adding everything to the data model. Let's go back to our list, insert another pivot table, and you guessed it, add it to the data model and place the pivot table on an existing sheet. For this pivot table, we want to see the total number of students, and to show that number, we need to use the distinct count function. Let's start off by dragging the student ID into the values quadrant, then glide up to the pivot table, right-click on the number, and look for Summarize Values by Distinct Count. When you select it, you'll see the number 20, which is correct because we only have 20 total students. But here's why we've been adding everything to the data model. For whatever reason, the distinct count calculation is only available when you add pivot tables to the data model. I have no clue why, so feel free to send the folks over at Microsoft a note asking them why. Make sure to let us know the response in the comments. I'd love to hear it. Anyhow, type an equal sign next to the cell in the pivot table, go ahead and click on the number 20, press enter, and that will show you the number. And that does it for the pivot tables we need. Let's move on. The next step is to add our slicers. We can do that by clicking inside any pivot table, then from the pivot table tab, click Insert Slicer, and choose the ones we want to use. In this case, the student's name, subject, and class. The next step is to connect the slicers to all the pivot tables. The reason for this is it makes sure all of our data updates in real time. Right-click on a slicer, look for Report Connections, then check all the boxes. Once that's complete, do a rinse and repeat on the other slicers. All right, now it's time to start to put our dashboard together. We'll kick things off by copying our charts, then paste them onto the dashboard sheet. Then move them onto the white shapes. I'm going to speed up this part a little bit because all I'm doing is just moving things around to make it look acceptable. In real life, you can spend as much time as you want refining things. Next, go back to our pivot table sheet, copy our slicers, and place them over here on the left side. Then we can drag them around a bit to make them look nice. If we want more buttons to be visible, from the Slicers tab, increase the number of columns to something that works. In this case, let's increase the number of columns for our students to 2. The next step is to draw the rectangles or cards that show the data at the top of our dashboard. Let's go up to the Insert tab, go with the rounded rectangle, and draw one roughly this size. We can change the color to anything for now because we're just going to make it look nice a little bit later on. Make sure to remove the outline as well. Next, copy the shape, move it around, resizing it a bit so it's slightly smaller, then change the color to white. Now, let's add a text box. From the Insert tab, we can draw it right here. And how about we type the text that reads Class Average? We can change the format as well, making sure to remove the outline. Then, copy the text box and move it down a little bit. Go ahead and remove the text. Cruise up to the formula bar, type an equal sign, go over to our pivot table sheet, and click the cell that contains the average score. Press enter, you'll see the number appear, and you can format the cell from there. We can insert an icon by going up to the Insert tab, then choose Icon, and how about we search for school? This book icon seems to work, so we'll go ahead and insert that. Now just drag it up to where you want it to live and resize it if needed. Next, hold down your Shift key and click on both rectangles, both text boxes, and the icon, copy it, then drag everything over to the right. This card will show the total students, and we can adjust the text accordingly. Then click in the second text box, go up to the formula bar, and adjust the formula so it links to the cell showing our distinct count over here on the pivot table sheet. To change the icon, right-click on it, look for Change Graphic, then choose from Icons. Let's do a search for school again, and we can choose this one, insert it, tidy things up if need be. Next, let's add the title of our dashboard. We can insert our text box, and then type our title. We can also add an icon by going up here and choosing Insert Icon. You can search for school one more time, This one looks good, so we'll insert that. Again, we can drag the icon up to where we want it to live. Then click on the Graphics tab, change the color. Moving on, let's add our hyperlink by first drawing a rounded rectangle down here. Let's type our text of student list, go with whatever color we want. Now, to create the hyperlink, right-click on the shape and look for Link, then Insert Link. In the dialog box, click Place in this document and choose the sheet with the student data. Now, if we hover over the button, we can see the link is working. If we click it, we'll go to that sheet. For the sake of time, I'm not going to create a button that'll take us back to the dashboard because creating one is the exact same thing as you just saw. The only difference is the link points back to the dashboard. Okay, one final step. The appearance of this dashboard was created by using a theme. In this case, I chose a theme called Slipstream. Then tweak the colors a bit. To apply a theme, go to the Page Layout tab. Then, over here on the left, look for Colors. Click the drop-down, and you'll see a bunch of ready-made color schemes. All you gotta do is just choose the one you like. Now, if you want to change the format of certain shapes, just click the shape. Then, from the Shape Format tab, click Shape Fill, and you'll see all the matching colors from the theme. Let's take things for a quick test drive, and everything looks good. We've just built a fully functional, interactive, dynamic classroom management dashboard in Excel. Feel free to let me know your thoughts below. Don't be shy about using those like, share, and subscribe buttons. And now here's another video.